Welcome to Unscripted with Russo. For our podcast, we decided to explore the people behind the narratives. I'll introduce decision makers and influencers and find out the intimate story behind their rise to success. Welcome to Unscripted with Russo. I'm Ashley Russo, and I am being joined today by Westley Morris, owner of Saucon Valley Massage, an inspirational speaker and coach. Wesley, thanks for being here.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
You know, Wesley, you were down the street from me as a neighbor when ASR was in Hellertown and your business is in Hellertown. And we had kind of connected a couple of times, but hadn't really connected until we were at a chamber event together. And as soon as I met you and you got this amazing award, so deserved, I was like, I've got to get to know this gentleman further. And so I'm so excited to have you here today.
Yes, I'm excited too. And I do remember that. And yes, it was, we were about a block away from each other, but, just our worlds never collided until that day. And I remember, just the energy. And I felt the same way. I was like, this is an interesting, amazing person that I need to know.
Well, listen, this is great. I'm excited to talk to you and to get to know you better, but also for our audience to hear your journey because it's unique, as are all of our paths. But yours is really special in a lot of ways, and you've been through a lot. So let's start at the beginning. Tell me a little bit about growing up. You grew up right here in Hellertown, I understand, and close by.
I'm actually from Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania. Very small farming community. That's where my mom grew up, and that's where I was born. So I was born up there. And, my mother grew up on a 365-acre working farm. Wow. So I learned all the farming principles from that lifestyle and still implement them into my life today. But, very small, small-minded, rural area in Bloomsburg. And I was born into poverty. So when my mother and my father had me, it was 1984, and we lived in a one-room cabin. They shot deer to survive, and they raised vegetables. Now, I was 9 months old. I didn't know that, but through the work that I've done now, I realize how influential the environment that you're born into affects who you are later on in life. Right. And
absolutely. And that's one of the reasons we sort of like to talk about, where does someone come from? Do you have siblings? What was sort of your family structure?
Yep. So I have a sister. She's 3.5 years older than me. My mother and father, it didn't work out. And when I was 9 months, she brought us to the Lehigh Valley in 1985.
And when you think about that time and growing up here, tell me a little bit about your childhood and those early years, school age. What kind of kid were you? Activities you were into? Describe yourself a bit.
As early back as I can remember, things were good. My mom was always my hero and still is today. I had a stepdad. His name was Bob, and he was the man in my life. And I played football, baseball, wrestling. I thought we were the all-American family. I had a dog, and we went on vacations, and everything seemed to be, on the up and up. And, when you're a kid, you don't know anything different. So, I played, I had neighborhood friends, I had best friends, I was creative. It's funny, kids now, they need a phone. We played kick the can for hours.
Amazing, the simple things, right? We used to come up with as games, but it really was instilling a creativity, and I think a sort of sense of self from that idea of a little bit of freedom. Maybe we weren't as free as we thought we were, but we felt that we were. Talk about your mom for a second and the influence that she's had on your life, because later on, you come back full circle. So we'll get to that in a bit. But as a kid, what was that dynamic with your mom like? And what are some of the values you feel like she instilled in you?
Oh my gosh, that's such a great question. And thank you for asking. She was my rock. She was my hero. I watched her start this business, and she was a little farm girl. No job skills, no life skills, just a disgusting work ethic. Like, just, I will make it happen. And, so when she opened up her business, I was 6 years old, and she put the walls in, she put the electric in, the plumbing, like her and another guy, she did it all. She was 27 years old, and just determined to make it work with a little bit of divine intervention from God. But, you know, just we were best friends. We were always best friends. And, the thing of it is, now that I'm a parent myself, right? We're all just trying to do the best we know how, right?
It's amazing how much grace you can give your parents once you are a parent, right? You realize that. When you talk about
Absolutely.
being a kid, what about, you talk about playing some sports.
Yep.
What about first jobs? Did you have a first job that you can recollect that you would share with us?
Absolutely. So I'm an entrepreneur at heart. I've always been an entrepreneur. My very first business was I wasn't even school age yet. I would draw these hideous pictures. I'm a terrible artist, but I would draw these Halloween and Christmas like pictures. And and I would go storefront to storefront and I would sell them for like 25 cents. Now, they weren't buying my hideous pictures, they were buying my cute face.
And the fact that a kid, I have a rule of thumb that any child who's selling anything,
Yes.
I buy it. I don't care what it is. And I have bought some homemade art and paintings and things off
Yes.
of, a street, somebody like a lemonade stand version, but something else. And I love that. I think it's so important to support kids with a vision. Doesn't matter what it looks like. It's the fact that they had the idea and followed through with it.
Yeah. And then my second business was my mom would come home after, 10, 12-hour days. And she'd be like, she would say, Wessie, 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 rub my feet, rub my feet. Right. So I would rub my mom's feet. And then I got good and I started charging her a quarter. And that was my second business. And then when I was 8, I tried to explain inflation and she fired me. She got rid of me.
Although I think as a massage therapist, she would recognize that it was good that you were working on that same skill set and capitalizing on it.
Yeah, but my sales approach just wasn't good enough.
I love that. That's so funny. And
Yeah.
tell me about the next stage of life. So how about education? Where did you fall in school and how important was education? Did you have a vision for the next stage past high school for yourself? Where did life take you?
I'll be honest with you. So my whole life changed dramatically. I talked about how I thought I was a normal kid. I thought I had a normal life, um, but there was some drug use in the household. There was some alcohol abuse in the household, and I didn't know it at the time, but I can see now how I experienced some trauma. And the most trauma that I experienced was when I was 12 years old. I came home from wrestling practice and my whole life changed. I come home, my neighbor picked me up, and I'm standing on the sidewalk in front of my house. The state police detectives have my whole house surrounded. I'm scared. I'm confused. I don't know what's going on. And I watched my mother get carried out in handcuffs. And my whole life got turned upside down. So my hero was, she was running a prostitution ring. And
Wow.
I was crushed. Yeah. When you're 12 years old, you don't know how to process events. You don't know how to deal with the adversities of life. Right. And I was left to fend on my own. It's one thing to have a problem, but it's another thing not to be able to really talk to anybody about it. And, and that was a pivotal time in my life where the path that I was on suddenly changed.
And
And
so much, I would imagine, of what you had thought and believed changed. That factor of trust, not having an adult that you could look to, and probably questioning, your entire existence in a lot of ways. So, what happens at that point for you, Wesley? What happens in that next 5, 7, 10 years of your life after that moment?
yeah, here's a kid that, he was on the right path. He was involved with the right people and the right organizations. And then this event happens and his whole life is shaken up. And, I turned to drugs and alcohol at an early age to kind of be accepted by my peers. By the time I was 15 years old, I had my first DUI. By the time I was 19 years old, I had lost my license for 22 years. When I
Wow.
was 15 years old, I walked in and I found my sister on the floor. She was blue in the face. She was unresponsive. She had overdosed from fentanyl. I gave her CPR resuscitation and saved her life that day. My sister just graduated with a 4-year degree from DeSales in the summer. So that's a huge comeback. But, I built a resentment with myself, with the town that I grew up in, with my mom, with the law enforcement, and I formulated this belief about myself and my family, that we were the bad kids. I was the bad kid. And, we tend to live what we believe. It's absolutely true. Belief drives behavior. And I believed that I was a bad kid, and my actions reflected that. So I got kicked out of high school, went down a really bad path, and looked for all the external circumstances outside of myself to justify my poor behavior. Always blaming other ones, playing the victim role, and it was really easy to do, due to the circumstances of my life. And long story short, I got a great idea. I'm going to move to Philadelphia. If I can just get out of this area, everything would be okay, right?
Sure. Isn't it funny? We always think we can run from ourselves.
Oof,
Oh, yeah, Ron,
absolutely.
you mentioned something that resonates a lot with me. I think I mentioned to you, and I know certainly my audience knows this, but I come from a family that there's addiction issues. I'm really fortunate. My dad got sober when I was 6 years old. It's been 41 years. That's how I count. How I can always remember. He says, "How do you always remember?" I said, "I just -6 from my age." Um, so I was really fortunate. That I was able to grow up with a sober family and have that experience. But um, you know, he would always say, be careful of self-fulfilling prophecies, meaning if you say it or you think it, that's what becomes. So say and think what you want to happen and who you believe you can be, and that's the direction you'll take. And he really started to say it to us when we became parents, my husband and I. Remember that what you speak to your children is what will become. Don't call them the bad child or the naughty child or the kid that always does X, because that's what they'll start to believe in themselves. And I just thought it was so interesting what you shared, that you were in this circumstance that so many negative things were happening. You started to think that that's who you were and identified with that. What happened when you went to Philadelphia?
So I moved to Philadelphia running from me, only taking me with me, right?
Mm.
You can change your external circumstances, but until you do the internal work, and it doesn't matter where you come from or what environment you're in, we all have internal work to do. We all have um, you know self-development to do. So I moved to Philadelphia, taking me with me, and I worked, meaningless dead end jobs. I was a construction worker. I worked a couple places, but, honestly, moving to Philadelphia in the beginning, it was exciting. I was exposed to new environments and new music and cultures and religions and foods. And I was 24 years old. I was having a great time, right? It opened up my mind and my awareness to how big the world actually is. And that was so important for me. But I never addressed that inner child. And long story short, I always pride myself on my work ethic. It's part of my farm mentality. And I got prescribed, I got something in my eye. I got prescribed prescription pain medication. I realized I could work excessively without feeling the effects of that. And 30 days later, I was fully addicted. 90 days later, I was using heroin. And 6 months later, I ended up being a homeless, hopeless heroin addict in North Philadelphia, one of the largest open air drug markets in the world. I lost everything: the girl, the car, the job, the apartment. It was all gone. And I was reduced to standing in the middle of the street selling bottles of water for $1 a piece. And I remember the look of the cars as they would pass and a look of disgust. And I was 50 pounds less than I am right now. I was malnourished. I was dehydrated, and I was hopeless. It was the lowest point in my entire life.
Wesley, with that, we're going to take a quick break. But when we come back, we want to talk about your story of hope. And we want to talk about how that time in your life, how you were able to transform that into the person that you are today. So please stay tuned. You'll want to hear what Wesley has to say. You're listening to Unscripted with Russo. Any time of year, the Lehigh Valley is an exceptional place for food, drink, and entertainment. Whether you're cooling off from the summer heat at Dutch Springs or shopping for just the right kind of gift at Christkindl Market, you will make memories all year round. For more information on what the Lehigh Valley has to offer, check out Discover Lehigh Valley's website at discoverlehighvalley.com. Welcome back to Unscripted with Russo. I am here with Westley Morris. He is sharing an amazing story. He owns Saucon Valley Massage, but he is also an inspirational speaker and coach, which comes out of his incredible, difficult, authentic journey that he's willing to share with us today. Wesley, thanks for being here, and thank you for being so honest. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's a tough journey, but we want people to hear the message out there. And you talked about getting addicted to painkillers, which led to heroin, which led to homelessness and losing everything in your early 20s, mid 20s. What changed? When did you get help, and what led you to that, to change to the person you are today?
There was a pivotal moment. I made it back to Hellertown. So I moved to Philadelphia running from me and this town. And then I moved back to Philadelphia. So I'm just running. And I come back, and my mom walks in on me one day. She walks into the room. I'm about to intravenously inject poison into my bloodstream. And like I said, it's one thing to have a problem. It's a whole nother thing not to be able to talk to anybody about it. And actually, the look in her face when she found me, it was more than I could handle. And the pain in her eyes was devastating. And I dropped to my knees and I prayed like I've never prayed before in my life. And it was the most humble prayer that I've ever said. And it was, please, God, help me. And things started to shift. I began to, let go. And listen, when you feel like it's all falling apart, how do you know it's not all coming together?
Wow. It's a great way to look at it. How do you put your life sort of back on track, coming from the place that you had been and that you had gotten to and found yourself in? How do you reconcile all of that with who you want to become? Because I would imagine that the amount of challenges you feel, shame, guilt, regret, how do you get over that? Or do you?
You do. There is hope. There is hope. I'm living proof. I have an amazing life today. And how I got there was we can't fix a problem that we don't identify as there. So the very first thing that I had to do was say, wow, there's a problem here. Because I thought, maybe one day I'll just wake up and all this will go away. And it never happened. So I had to truly take a look at myself and say, you're the problem. And it doesn't matter what the problem is, just identify it. And then you can start to work on the solution. And it was a process. And I used the law of horizon. So go as far as you can see, and then you can see a little bit more. The very first thing that I saw was, okay, I cannot be around any type of substance or any type of person that may bring any type of substance around me. So I had to change my circle of influence immediately. And that's what I did. And I began to surround myself with a better circle of influence. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, period.
Which is an unbelievable statistic, really. And yet it makes so much sense, because think about that. I mean, wow. Yeah. Did you get professional help to get clean?
I did, yes. So I had to, I had to go to a facility. And I had to, go through that process. But the facility, it was simply just time away from the substance. And here's the biggest conception. The biggest misconception is thinking that the substance is the problem. Mm. You can remove the substance, right? But you still have the same person. And you will just replace that substance with something else. Any type of any type of substance that releases some type of dopamine into your brain, the pleasure sensors. So I removed the substance, and here I am, the same person. And that's when the real work started, the internal work of finding out. Here's the question. When I speak, I always ask this question. I don't care why you did what you did or why you use what you use. My question to you is, why do you think that that's all you're worth?
Mm. Powerful question.
Mm-hmm.
What did you find as you started to get through this healing journey for yourself? Get clean, you start to really look at the underlying problems. Tell us, where did you find the motivation and the inspiration to turn your life around and really get into running the massage business, growing that business? And then we'll shift gears and talk a little bit about how you become a motivational speaker using all of your knowledge. But those early days, when you're working on yourself, what was the motivation for you? And for people listening who might be looking for motivation to go to that next step in their life, what would your advice be to them?
In 1997, I saw my mom get arrested for running a prostitution ring. Right? It was the most devastating thing that I've ever been through, and she's ever been through, in a small place, in a small town where the ridicule was off the charts. I watched this woman get up every single day and fight. She stayed in the same place, underneath the same name, in the same town, and in the same industry, and never ran. She said, I'm going to show my kids that you can fall down and you can get back up. And every single day she was resilient. She held her head up, and she showed up. 50% of success is showing up. 40% is having a good attitude. That last 10%, that's a dogfight. And I watched this woman fight. And 3 years later, in the year 2000, I come home from high school. She says, Wes, I want you to meet somebody. I look to my left, and there's Donovan McNabb walking down the hallway. My mom went on to be the head massage therapist for the Philadelphia Eagles from 2000 to 2012 because she never ran, and she changed her ways. She developed. She became the person that I always knew she was. She's my hero. She's the strongest working woman I've ever met. So through divine intervention, when she walked in on me and the pain in her eyes, I said, I'm going to make this woman proud of me. I don't care what it takes. And
well, you certainly have done that. I want to take a quick break, but when we come back, I want to talk about your business today, where you're headed, and what you love about the Lehigh Valley. So stick with us. You're listening to Unscripted with Russo. Time to take your workout outdoors. Discover Lehigh Valley is a great resource for finding easily accessible nature trails with stunning views and challenging terrain. Whether you're exploring the Delaware and Lehigh Trail or going for a jog on the Ironton Rail Trail, explore Discover Lehigh Valley to get you started. Follow them on Instagram, Lehigh Valley, PA. Welcome back, everybody. I'm Ashley Russo, and this is Unscripted with Russo. I am here with Westley Morris. Westley has been telling us all about his journey. Westley, you've been through some ups and some downs, and you have come out on top. Tell me about that resilience and finding this path that you're on to follow really your mother's lead with hard work and resiliency, developing your massage business. And tell us about this business.
One day, it was 2016. I'm in the process of getting my life together. Right. I'm going as far as I can see, and then I can see a little bit more, and I'm taking all the steps, and I'm doing what I have to do. And you got to understand, I lost my license for 22 years. So I'm riding a bicycle. I have no direction. I was an iron worker welder. When you come from where I came from to making $80,000 a year, it's like you hit the lotto, but I was absolutely miserable. And I realized that success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure. So I dropped everything that I was doing, the job, the girl I was with. I sold my car after driving without a license for 9.5 years, and I started riding a bicycle. And through that, I got this message that said, go help your mom. Go help my mom. My mom's a massage therapist. I had no business experience, no business education. I just had a strong why. I had a strong, resilient reason why. I just kept positive action. I just kept my feet moving. And we changed the name, we rebranded, we brought in technology. I developed in leadership, I invested in leadership, and we grew that business 1,000% in 4 years.
It's so incredible and remarkable because, like you said, it wasn't like you had a business degree or a background in business or growing businesses, and yet you had this desire and this work ethic. And I love that you hired experts. How important was it for you to consult with other people who could give you advice on what to do?
It was pivotal. It was absolutely amazing. So many times I think that we feel like we have to have all the answers, and that's not true. You can cut 10 years down to 10 months by finding someone that's already did it, modeling what they did, and get the same results. Mentorship is huge.
It's actually more important to have lots of questions than answers, I've found, to grow and to learn to be a leader and grow your business. Is the more questions you ask, the more advice you get and the more guidance you get. So I love that. I love that mentality.
Yes.
What about becoming, so much has happened. You get into the business, you grow the business, you rebrand, you're known as Saucon Valley Massage. You've got a cool logo, you've got a spot on Main Street, and you start telling your story. How did that happen, Westley, where you went from, okay, I'm going to put my mind around growing this business, being a part of it, to I want to start telling my story, which has then led to you becoming this transformation specialist and a mentor for people. Take me through that journey briefly.
Absolutely. So many amazing things happened through that business process of Saucon Valley Massage. I grew, the business grew, the team grew, everything grew. And one of the most amazing aspects of that is Talitha Diggs, who's a local hero. She's a Saucon Valley grad, and she's a world champion. And I've been working on her since she was 15 years old. Her mother, Joetta Clark, is like one of my best friends. Joetta's a 4-time Olympic athlete. She's absolutely amazing. I'm on Team Talitha through Saucon Valley Massage, through giving back, because I did an event where I gave all the proceeds to Saucon Valley Track and Field. So I literally went from the lowest of lows to going to the Olympics as a massage therapist, all while riding a bicycle. And it's an amazing transformation story. And I realized that people need to hear this. Everyone has problems, but the shame and guilt that we feel as a result of whatever it is in our life keeps us from getting the help. So I just, I knew that God gave me a gift in speaking, and I just made a decision that I was going to use it to help other people through whatever situation that they're going through.
Yeah, your transparency and authenticity is so inspiring. And to meet you, I hope people can hear it through this conversation, but to meet you in person is just next level, Westley, because you have an energy about you that is so open and so giving. And I love that you're using that to give back. How important is community and giving back to you? And how important do you think it should be to others as they try to find success in their own lives?
It's extremely important. And the reason why is because fear, anger, resentment, all these negative emotions, they're me thinking about me. That is the root of all the human suffering. So anxiety, all that. 2020, May 17th, March 17th, I get the orders shut down, right? This was my purpose. I got a team of 6. They're all looking at me like, what's going on? And that's when that leadership all really kicked in, right? The first thing I had to do was take care of myself. And then I went to Saucon Valley Massage. I did a complete renovation. I donated 200 meals to the local elementary school, because sometimes that's the only meal that those kids get. I donated meals to St. Luke's nursing, to St. Luke's janitorial. And the reason why I was doing this renovation and donating these meals is because the easiest way to get out of self-centered fear is to put the focus on someone else and to help someone else. And therefore, all of a sudden, my problems don't feel that big.
What a great message. And now you're taking that message and you're out there doing motivational speaking. You're
Yes.
getting all kinds of speaking engagements, which I know you're super psyched about, and we're super psyched about because you're taking your message, our hometown boy, going out into the world, and you're being
Yes.
honored by that. I want to recognize that you just won the 2023 Most Influential Man of the Year from Lehigh Valley Style Magazine.
It's great
I
to
hope
see.
people are hearing this. I mean, Westley, you think about your story and you think about what you've been through, and that ability and choice, I think, is maybe the right word, to turn and look at it differently and flip it into something else. What does that mean to you? How does it feel to be making such an incredible impact on the Lehigh Valley and our community?
It makes me feel alive. It makes me feel alive. I realize how precious life is. I realize how lucky I am to have a second chance at life, and I'm not going to waste it. And it's so good. It's exhilarating. It makes me feel alive. It's incredible. And it goes back to my original statement before, which is success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure. And once I tasted significance, success will never taste the same. And
Mm,
success is when I try to change my life. Significance is when I try to change yours.
I love it. Awesome message. I want to ask you about the Lehigh Valley. This has been your home. You went off, you came back, you're really building a life here, but you're starting to travel around the country. Why do you make the Lehigh Valley your home? What do you love about it?
I do, and I love the evolution of the Lehigh Valley. So I've been living in the Lehigh Valley since 1985. I mean, I was 1 year old at the time, but it's a huge transition, and the diversity. And I don't need to go to Philadelphia or New York to have a great meal and to see entertainment anymore. I can do it right in my backyard. It's filled with beautiful people that are open-minded, and that's why I'm trying to bring self-development into the Lehigh Valley, trying to bring programs to evolve us and to expand our awareness. I love it. The culture and the events and the education, it's all right here. It's all right here.
What do you love to do in the Lehigh Valley? You have any go-to things? You talked about riding your bike a lot, which was somewhat out of necessity, but we do have some great open spaces. Is there anything you like to do that you want to share with the audience? Something they should check out?
So somebody introduced me to skiing last year, and I'm one of those guys where I will go all in. So I fell in love. I'm headed to Vermont this weekend. But Blue Mountain, the Poconos, it's right there. It's right there. So, I'm a year two skier. I got my skis, the whole
Look
nine
at
yards.
you go. I love it. Picking up new hobbies. Very cool. What
Absolutely.
about restaurants? The culinary scene has been so cool here. Northampton Community College has a huge influence on that, and people are really doubling down in the Valley. Anywhere you love to go eat?
My go-to would have to be either Edge or Serve in Forks Township.
I
I
haven't
love
been to
those.
Serve, but I've heard about it now twice. You're the third person to tell me about Serve. I guess we got to get there.
Yeah, absolutely. Serve is phenomenal. They have a brick oven pizza, and then they also have fine dining. So those are my two go-tos, but I definitely love the Bayou.
Oh, I love the Bayou too. Always delicious. Amazing. Great place to go and share stuff with a group too. So,
Absolutely.
Wesley, what's next for you? What does the future look like?
The future looks like being a nationally renowned speaker, developing programs. Just do more, be more, become more.
I have the utmost faith that you can and will achieve that. We just hope that you don't forget all of us in the Lehigh Valley once you're traveling the globe, sharing your story. All right, before I let you go, I want to ask you our rapid fire questions. Just confirm for the audience you have not heard these questions.
I have not, but I'm
All right,
excited.
are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, your favorite hobby or secret talent?
Learning.
Learning. Good one. Anything in particular you love to learn about?
Self-development.
Me too. I'm always reading something. What is the best advice you've ever received?
Your future potential has nothing to do with your current results.
Ooh, I have to think about that one. Amazing. Okay. What actor would you cast to play you in a movie about your life?
Mark Wahlberg.
Oh, nice call. Okay, I could see that too. All right, if you didn't have the job you have now, what would you be doing instead? It can't be a job you've already had.
Have a job. It's just my life. I'd like to be a scuba dive instructor.
Do you know how to scuba dive?
No.
That's the best answer of all time. I love it. I think I see a new hobby in your future this summer, scuba diving.
Absolutely.
All right,
Yes.
good.
Yeah.
And to end it, name one person who inspires you.
Talitha Diggs.
Talitha Diggs. She is an amazing individual. And what a role you've played in her journey. Westley Morris, thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate your honesty. Such a good conversation. Everybody out there, go check out Saucon Valley Massage. And if you're looking for a speaker for your next event, Wesley's got a great story to tell, and he certainly motivates. Thanks for being here, Wes.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Until next time, this is Unscripted with Russo.
Like what you saw? Subscribe to our channel so you never miss another video.
To see more of The Peak TV, check out our website, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and catch us on WFMZ Channel 69.